Hi guys, if we're hoping that Donald Trump or those around him would begin to see sense as they watch not just the US stock market crash, but other exchanges around the world go into free fall, well, our hopes were dashed by the news that the American president may be planning more tariffs, this time in response to China. 50% seems to be the word on the street, which would bring the total placed on China over 100%. This of course will drive up consumer prices at a time when many Americans are already struggling. Trump's tariffs seem to be a tool to bring countries to the negotiating table, but China isn't willing to bend to the president's will, as Xi is not someone to be bullied.
We are following the breaking news of President Trump threatening to slap China with additional tariffs. Let's go live to CNN senior White House reporter Kevin Liptak. So, Kevin, what is the president saying about this potential escalation here?
Yeah, and it's a major escalation in this tit-for-tat tariff war between Washington and Beijing. Remember, Pam, last week President Trump applied that 35% reciprocal tariff on China. China retaliated, applying its own 34% tariff on the United States. Now President Trump saying this: if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April the 8th, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. He goes on to say that additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. And I just want to break down the math for you here, Pamela, because remember, President Trump had already applied a 20% tariff on China for its role in the fentanyl crisis. He applied that 34% reciprocal tariff last week. That goes into effect later this week. Now he's threatening this additional 50% retaliatory tariff on China, this tit-for-tat back and forth. That would bring the total tariffs on China by the United States to 104%, which is a huge number. China, the world's second largest economy, one of the United States' largest trading partners. This could have a serious effect for American consumers, given the amount of goods that come into the United States. And I think just as we have seen today, the market's clearly looking for some kind of off-ramp here, for some kind of easing on the part of the president. This shows that the president is very much committed to this tariff plan, exactly not what the markets were looking for.
I'll leave a link in the description of this video so you can watch the whole clip. But this is really concerning because we've heard from Trump before where he talked about imposing tariffs of 100%, 200%. Now, he's not impacted by these things. He doesn't give a crap. This is the concerning thing. He wants to use the tariffs as a cudgel. He wants to use them as a bargaining tool. Bring countries to the table and then extract concessions, like a mafia boss. I think this is what Trump wants to do. Now, he may be able to succeed with smaller countries. You know, they feel threatened, they come to the table, Trump negotiates some sort of deal with them, or his administration obviously, and then extract concessions, of course, a deal that's better for the United States than it is for the other country. But the problem with that as well is that, well, Donald Trump is not reliable. So even if these countries do go to the negotiating table, do agree something, do sign on the dotted line, there's no guarantee that Donald Trump will not tear that up in 6 months' time, or 3 months' time, or even the next day. So any agreement with Trump is not worth the paper it's written on. But for countries like China or blocs like the European Union, they can't negotiate with Trump in this way because they know that they need to push back. The Chinese president would lose all of his power in his country if he were to bend to Donald Trump's will. So he's not going to do that. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be some sort of a negotiation. Maybe there will. But Trump is not going to get what he wants from China. And he's not going to get what he wants from the European Union either. They have to push back. And what's happening at the moment, it seems, is these countries and these blocs are looking elsewhere. They're forming their own alliances. The European Union is speaking to Canada. China is speaking to Japan and South Korea. Unprecedented. So we're going to see a sort of isolation, I believe, going forward with the United States. Now, Trump will, of course, strong arm some smaller countries into negotiating with him, and he'll extract significant concessions because they don't have the the power behind them that the EU or China has. But once again, any agreement with Trump isn't worth the paper it's written on. And you're going to hear probably from the Tories and Reform UK that the UK should sign a trade deal with Trump, that it would be in the national interest, but of course it would not be. The UK's future lies with Europe. Europe's future lies with Canada. And China's future lies in the middle, in the Far East, in the Far East with Japan and South Korea. Trump is isolating himself and the United States. And the more he puts on these tariffs, all he's doing is he's going to drive more and more people away from him in the United States. He's driving up the cost of living. And while he may not suffer the consequences, his party certainly will.